The person I was trying to set up with someone else became the person who started looking at me differently, and I had no idea my own love story had already begun. Ethan Parker never expected his biggest talent would be matchmaking. At 24 years old, he believed he understood people better than anyone around him. He could notice small details, recognize hidden feelings, and somehow always know when two people belonged together. That was exactly why he was convinced his two new roommates were a perfect match. When Ethan moved into the apartment near his university, he met Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett for the first time. Ryan was quiet, organized, and almost impossible to read. He preferred peaceful evenings, carefully planned schedules, and moments of silence. Logan was the complete opposite. He was energetic, friendly, and always brought a little extra excitement into the apartment. Ethan watched them interact during their first week together and immediately formed a conclusion. These two are definitely meant to become friends, Ethan thought. Maybe even something more. Ryan and Logan looked at each other with completely different personalities, and Ethan believed that was exactly what made them interesting. One person brought calm. The other brought energy. Ethan imagined how well they could balance each other. So, without telling anyone, he decided to become their unofficial matchmaker. He started creating small opportunities for them to spend time together. He suggested movie nights. He planned shared dinners. He found reasons for Ryan and Logan to work on projects together. Every time they laughed or had a meaningful conversation, Ethan felt proud. It is working, Ethan thought. I am actually helping two people connect. But Ethan failed to notice something important. While he was watching Ryan and Logan, they were watching him too. Ryan noticed how Ethan always remembered the little things. He noticed when someone was tired. He noticed when someone needed encouragement. Even after a long day, Ethan still asked how others were doing before talking about himself. Logan noticed something similar. Behind Ethan's cheerful personality was someone who always put himself last. Ethan could make everyone feel comfortable, but he rarely allowed anyone to take care of him. One evening, the three roommates sat together in the apartment kitchen. Ethan was happily explaining why Ryan and Logan had so much in common. You both actually like the same types of movies, Ethan said. And you both pretend you do not care about small things, but you secretly do. Ryan looked at Ethan and smiled slightly. Logan laughed. You have really thought about this a lot, haven't you? Ethan nodded proudly. Of course. I just want my roommates to be happy. For a moment, Ryan and Logan exchanged a quiet look. It was not the look Ethan expected. It was not the look of two people discovering feelings for each other. It was the look of two people realizing they had both noticed the same person. The person sitting between them. Ethan continued talking, completely unaware. He believed he was helping someone else's story begin. He did not know he had already become the most important part of it. Ethan Parker believed he was getting better at understanding relationships, but he never considered that he might be the one everyone else was trying to understand. After the first week of living with Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett, Ethan became even more convinced that his matchmaking plan was working. He noticed small moments between them and immediately interpreted them as signs of a growing connection. When Ryan quietly left an extra cup of coffee on the kitchen counter, Ethan smiled. See? He is becoming more thoughtful, Ethan thought. Logan is definitely bringing out a warmer side of him. What Ethan did not notice was that the coffee was not for Logan. It was for Ethan, because Ryan had remembered that Ethan always looked tired during early mornings. Ryan never said anything about it. He simply noticed. Logan was no different. One afternoon, Ethan returned to the apartment after a long day of classes and found Logan preparing dinner. Ethan looked surprised. You cooked? He asked. Logan smiled. You skipped lunch again, did you not? Ethan froze for a moment. He wondered how Logan knew. You always do that when you are focused on helping other people, Logan explained. Someone has to remind you to take care of yourself too. Ethan laughed and thanked him, completely missing the meaning behind those words. To Ethan, these were simply signs that his roommates were becoming closer. He never considered that both Ryan and Logan were paying attention to him because he mattered to them. As days passed, Ethan continued creating opportunities for Ryan and Logan. He suggested weekend activities, encouraged conversations, and proudly watched them interact. But something strange kept happening. Every plan Ethan created somehow ended with all three of them spending time together. A movie night that was supposed to be for Ryan and Logan became a conversation where everyone shared personal stories. A simple dinner became an evening where Ryan and Logan asked Ethan about his dreams and his future. Ethan answered honestly, unaware that those moments were changing how they saw him. Ryan had always been someone who kept his feelings private. He was careful with his words and rarely trusted people quickly. But Ethan made that easier. Ethan did not try to force Ryan to open up. He simply gave him space and listened when he was ready. Logan noticed the same thing from a different perspective. Many people enjoyed his jokes, but rarely noticed when he was being serious. Ethan was different. He could tell when Logan was using humor to avoid talking about something important. One night, after Ethan went to his room, Ryan and Logan remained in the living room. For the first time, they talked about something neither of them expected. "Have you noticed?" Logan asked. Ryan looked at him. "Noticed what?" Logan smiled slightly. "That Ethan spends all his time trying to make other people happy." Ryan became quiet because he knew it was true. They both remembered countless small moments when Ethan had helped them without expecting anything in return. The person who was trying to create a connection between them had unknowingly created one with both of them instead. Meanwhile, Ethan was making another plan. He was already thinking about a special weekend activity where Ryan and Logan could spend more time together. He wrote down ideas, smiled to himself, and believed everything was going exactly as planned. Ethan thought he was watching a love story slowly begin between his two roommates. He did not realize that the story had already changed direction, and the two people he wanted to bring closer were not looking at each other. They were looking at him. Ethan Parker had always believed that being the person who understood everyone else was his greatest strength. He could recognize when someone needed encouragement, when someone needed a little more patience, and when two people had the potential to become important parts of each other's lives. But lately, Ethan had started noticing something strange. The more he tried to bring Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett closer together, the more he found himself becoming the person they both wanted to spend time with. Ethan still did not see it. He was too focused on his role as a matchmaker. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan planned a small outing for Ryan and Logan at a local coffee shop near campus. He chose the place because he remembered Ryan liked quiet spaces and Logan enjoyed trying new things. "This is perfect," Ethan thought. They can talk more, discover what they have in common, and maybe finally realize how well they fit together. But when they arrived, Ryan and Logan spent most of their time asking Ethan questions. Ryan noticed that Ethan always chose places where everyone felt comfortable. Logan noticed that Ethan remembered details about both of them without even trying. Instead of feeling like a third person in their conversation, Ethan became the center of it. "You really pay attention to people," Ryan said. Ethan smiled. "I guess I just like knowing what makes people happy." Ryan looked at him for a moment longer than usual. That simple answer revealed something important. Ethan did not help people because he wanted recognition. He did it because caring about others came naturally to him. Later that evening, the three roommates returned to their apartment. Ethan went to the kitchen to prepare snacks while Ryan and Logan sat together in the living room. They talked about Ethan again. "He really does not realize it, does he?" Logan asked. Ryan shook his head. "No, he thinks he is helping us." They both laughed quietly because the situation seemed almost impossible. The person trying to create a connection between two people was completely unaware that he had become the connection they valued most. Ryan began remembering the first week they met. Ethan was the first person who did not judge his quiet personality. Many people assumed Ryan was distant because he did not talk much, but Ethan simply accepted him without trying to change him. Logan remembered different moments. Ethan was always the person who noticed when his jokes were hiding a difficult day. He never forced Logan to explain himself, but he always made sure Logan knew someone cared. For both of them, Ethan had become someone rare, someone who made them feel understood. Meanwhile, Ethan sat at his desk creating another plan. He wanted to organize a weekend trip where Ryan and Logan could spend more time together outside the apartment. He wrote down ideas and imagined how happy they would be if they realized their feelings. But as he looked at his notes, Ethan suddenly felt something unexpected, a small feeling of uncertainty. He wondered why the idea of Ryan and Logan becoming closer made him feel strangely nervous. "That is ridiculous," Ethan thought. "I am helping them. This is what I wanted." But he did not understand the reason behind that feeling yet. He had spent so much time watching Ryan and Logan that he never considered looking at himself. The truth was slowly becoming impossible to ignore. Ryan and Logan were not the only ones whose feelings were changing. Ethan was changing too, and soon, He would have to face the question he had been avoiding. If he was not just the person creating their love story, then what role did he actually have in it? Ethan Parker had always been confident that he understood the people around him, but lately he was beginning to realize that he might have misunderstood one person completely: himself. Every day, he continued trying to create opportunities for Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett to become closer. He planned dinners, suggested activities, and found excuses for them to spend more time together. Yet every time he created a perfect moment for his two roommates, something unexpected happened. Somehow, Ethan became the person they focused on. One evening, Ethan invited Ryan and Logan to a small restaurant near their apartment. He carefully chose the place because Ryan preferred calm environments and Logan enjoyed trying new food. Ethan sat across from them with a proud smile, watching for signs that his plan was working. This is going perfectly, Ethan thought. They are talking more. They are laughing more. Soon they will realize how much they like each other. But Ryan and Logan were not thinking about each other. Ryan noticed the way Ethan smiled when everyone was having a good time. Logan noticed how Ethan quietly checked whether both of them were comfortable before thinking about himself. The two roommates exchanged a glance, realizing once again that Ethan was completely unaware of what was happening. After dinner, they walked back to the apartment together. The night was peaceful, and the conversation naturally moved from simple topics to personal stories. Ryan shared memories about how difficult it was for him to open up to people. Logan talked about how he often used humor because it was easier than explaining his true feelings. Ethan listened carefully, just like always. He did not interrupt. He did not judge. He simply listened. For Ryan and Logan, that moment revealed something important. Ethan was not special because he tried to make people happy. He was special because he made people feel accepted. Later that night, Ryan and Logan stayed in the living room after Ethan went to his room. "Do you think he knows?" Logan asked. Ryan smiled slightly. "No, I think he honestly believes he is helping us become closer." Logan laughed softly. "That is the most Ethan thing I have ever heard." They both understood the situation was becoming more complicated. They had started this journey as roommates. Then they became friends. But now, both of them had feelings they never expected. Meanwhile, Ethan sat alone in his room, looking at the plans he had created. He stared at his notes and felt a strange emptiness. He should have been happy. His goal was to help Ryan and Logan connect. So why did the idea of them becoming closer make him feel like he was losing something? Maybe I am just being weird, Ethan thought. I wanted this to happen. But deep inside, he knew something had changed. Ethan had always believed love was something he could observe from the outside. He thought he was the person who helped others find happiness. He never imagined that someone might look at him and see the same possibility. The next morning, Ryan noticed Ethan seemed quieter than usual. Logan noticed too. They both wanted to ask if he was okay, but they hesitated. For the first time, they realized Ethan was always the one asking questions, while nobody asked about him. That simple realization changed everything. The person who brought warmth into their apartment was the person they wanted to understand better. And Ethan, who spent so much time creating connections between others, was finally about to discover that he was not standing outside the story. He was already at the center of it. Ethan Parker had spent years believing that understanding other people was easy, but understanding his own feelings was something completely different. He could recognize when Ryan Mitchell needed support. He could tell when Logan Bennett was hiding something behind a joke. He could create the perfect situations for two people to become closer. But when it came to himself, Ethan was completely lost. After the changes in the apartment became impossible to ignore, Ethan decided he needed to focus even more on bringing Ryan and Logan together. He believed that if he helped them realize their feelings, everything would return to normal. I just need to make one final push, Ethan thought. Once they understand how well they match, everything will be easier. So Ethan planned a special weekend gathering at the apartment. He prepared everyone's favorite snacks, chose a movie everyone could enjoy, and created a comfortable atmosphere where Ryan and Logan could spend time together. To Ethan, this was the perfect opportunity. But from Ryan and Logan's perspective, the evening became something completely different. Ryan noticed that Ethan remembered every small preference without being asked. He noticed that Ethan prepared the snacks Logan liked, the drinks Ryan preferred, and even adjusted the room so everyone felt comfortable. Logan noticed the same thing. Ethan was always thinking about other people before himself. Do you ever think about what you want? Logan asked suddenly. Ethan looked confused. Of course I do. But his answer was not very convincing. Ryan smiled softly because he already knew the truth. Ethan was so focused on making others happy that he rarely stopped to consider his own happiness. As the evening continued, the three roommates talked about their future plans. Ryan shared that he wanted to become someone people could depend on. Logan admitted that he wanted to find a place where he truly belonged. Then they asked Ethan the same question. Ethan became quiet. He had answers for everyone else, but not for himself. I guess I just want the people around me to be happy, Ethan finally said. Ryan and Logan looked at each other. That answer was exactly why they cared about him. Ethan never tried to become important. He became important because he made others feel valued. Later that night, after Ethan went to sleep, Ryan and Logan had another conversation. This time, they were more honest. We should probably admit what is happening, Ryan said. Logan nodded. I know. Neither of them wanted to create tension in the apartment, but both understood the same thing. Their feelings were not temporary. They were not simply the result of living together. They had grown because Ethan had shown them a kind of care they had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Ethan woke up early the next morning and started making another plan. He wanted to help Ryan and Logan have a private conversation where they could finally express their feelings. He wrote down ideas, arranged schedules, and smiled because he believed he was close to completing his mission. But when Ryan and Logan saw him working so hard for them, they realized something painful. Ethan was preparing a moment for them while ignoring the person who had created all those moments. The person Ethan wanted to bring happiness to others was the person who deserved happiness too. That day, Ryan and Logan made a quiet decision. They would stop waiting for Ethan to notice. They would show him that he was not just the person connecting their lives. He was the person who had changed them. And soon, Ethan would discover that the story he thought he was writing for his roommates was actually the story that had been waiting for him all along. Ethan Parker had always believed that being a good friend meant helping people find what they needed, even if they did not realize they needed it yet. That was why he spent so much time trying to bring Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett closer together. But now, for the first time, Ethan began wondering if he had been looking at everything from the wrong direction. The more he tried to create moments between his two roommates, the more he noticed that those moments always returned to him. After their weekend gathering, something changed inside the apartment. The atmosphere felt warmer, but Ethan could not understand why. Ryan started joining him during quiet mornings, sharing coffee, and simple conversations before classes. Logan started inviting Ethan into more of his plans, making sure Ethan was included instead of always being the person organizing things for others. Ethan noticed these changes, but explained them away. They are just becoming better friends, he thought. This is exactly what I wanted. But Ryan and Logan knew the truth was different. One afternoon, Ethan came home carrying several bags of groceries. He had planned another dinner because he believed shared meals helped people become closer. Before he could start preparing everything, Ryan took some of the bags from his hands. You do not have to do everything yourself, Ryan said. Ethan smiled. I am just trying to help. Logan looked at him and laughed softly. That is exactly what we mean. Ethan looked confused. He did not understand why both of them seemed focused on him instead of each other. During dinner, the conversation shifted toward their lives before becoming roommates. Ryan talked about how difficult it was for him to trust people. Logan shared that he often felt like he needed to entertain everyone so nobody would forget him. Then both of them looked at Ethan. What about you? Ryan asked. Ethan paused. What about me? Logan smiled. You always ask everyone else questions. We want to know your answers. For a moment, Ethan did not know what to say. He was used to being the listener. He was used to being the person who supported others. But when someone asked about his own feelings, he suddenly felt uncertain. I do not know, Ethan admitted. I guess I never really thought about it. Ryan and Logan became quiet because that answer revealed more than Ethan realized. He had spent so much time creating happiness for other people that he forgot he deserved the same thing. Later that night, Ryan and Logan talked privately in the living room. They agreed that Ethan needed to understand something important. He was not simply the person who helped their relationship grow. He was the reason they both felt more comfortable being themselves. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his room looking at his original plan. The notes he created to bring Ryan and Logan together were still on his desk. He looked at the pages and felt a strange emotion he could not explain. He should have been excited. His plan was working. Ryan and Logan were closer than ever. But why did he feel like something was changing in a way he did not expect? Ethan finally admitted a thought he had avoided for days. Maybe I did not want them to find someone else, he thought quietly. The realization surprised him. He had always believed he was only helping from the outside. But maybe he was not outside at all. Maybe he had been part of the story from the beginning. The next morning, Ryan and Logan decided it was time to stop letting Ethan misunderstand everything. They wanted him to know the truth. They wanted him to understand that the connection between them was not what he thought. Because the person who brought them together was also the person they never wanted to lose. Ethan Parker had spent so much time believing he was the person standing outside the story that he never considered the possibility that he was the reason the story existed in the first place. For weeks, he had watched Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett, carefully analyzing every conversation and every small interaction, convinced that he was helping two people discover their feelings. But after everything that happened, Ethan could no longer ignore the strange changes around him. The apartment felt different. Ryan and Logan felt different. And most importantly, Ethan felt different. The moment Ethan had been avoiding finally arrived when Ryan and Logan asked him to sit down with them. Ethan immediately became nervous because he assumed they were going to talk about each other. This is it, Ethan thought. They finally figured out their feelings. I should be happy for them. Ryan looked at him and smiled. Ethan, there is something you need to understand. Ethan nodded, preparing himself for a conversation about his two roommates becoming closer. But the words that followed completely surprised him. You were never the person helping us find each other, Logan said. Ethan blinked. What? Ryan continued. You were the person who made us feel comfortable enough to be ourselves. Ethan became quiet. He did not know how to respond because that was never part of his plan. He had always believed his role was simple. He was the friend who helped others, the roommate who noticed everything, the person standing nearby while other people found happiness. He never imagined that someone would look at him the same way. Logan explained that before meeting Ethan, he rarely showed people when he was struggling. He was used to making others laugh because it was easier than admitting when he needed support. But Ethan had always noticed. He had always listened. Ryan shared something similar. He said Ethan was the first person who did not see his quiet personality as a problem. Ethan never tried to change him. He simply accepted him. Hearing those words made Ethan realize something he had never considered. The kindness he gave to others was not invisible. People saw it. People valued it. People cared about him because of it. Ethan looked down and laughed softly. I think I have been a little blind. Ryan smiled. Only a little. Logan joked, making everyone laugh. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt like he was not responsible for creating the perfect moment. He could simply exist and enjoy being with the people around him. Later that evening, Ethan walked home from class and thought about everything that had happened. He realized he had spent so much time wondering whether Ryan and Logan belonged together that he never asked what he wanted. He had always believed their happiness was the goal. But now he understood something new. His own happiness mattered too. Meanwhile, Ryan and Logan also had an important conversation. They knew Ethan had finally started noticing his own feelings, but they also knew the situation required honesty. They did not want Ethan to feel pressured or confused. They wanted him to understand that what mattered most was the connection they had built together. Not because of a plan, not because of an expectation, but because they genuinely cared about each other. The next day, the three roommates returned to their normal routine. They cooked together, talked about their day, and laughed about simple things. But something had changed. Ethan was no longer watching from the outside. He was finally part of the moment. And for the first time, he wondered if the story he had been trying to create for Ryan and Logan was actually a story that belonged to all three of them. Ethan Parker had always believed that love was something he could recognize in other people before they recognized it themselves. He could see the small gestures, the hidden feelings, and the moments when two people started becoming important to each other. But now, for the first time, Ethan was beginning to understand that emotions were not always as simple as he imagined, especially his own. After the conversation with Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett, the apartment felt different. Not because anything dramatic had changed, but because Ethan finally stopped seeing himself as an observer. He started noticing the little moments he had ignored before. Ryan asking about his day was no longer just a friendly question. Logan saving his favorite snack was no longer just a casual gesture. The things Ethan once overlooked suddenly felt meaningful. One evening, The three roommates sat together in the living room after a long day of classes and work. The conversation was simple, but Ethan noticed how natural everything felt. There was no need for him to create a plan. No need to guide the conversation. They were simply enjoying being together. "I think I finally understand something," Ethan said quietly. Ryan looked at him with curiosity. "What is that?" Ethan smiled slightly. "I spent so much time trying to make sure everyone else had a good story that I forgot I was living my own." Logan looked surprised because Ethan rarely talked about himself this way. For so long, Ethan had always been the person who gave support. He was the one who remembered birthdays, checked on friends, and made sure nobody felt left out. But now Ryan and Logan wanted him to experience the same care he had always given others. The next weekend, they decided to spend the day together without any plans or expectations. They walked around the city, visited a small bookstore, and stopped at a local cafe. It was an ordinary day, but Ethan realized ordinary moments were often the ones that mattered most. Ryan noticed Ethan laughing more freely than usual. Logan noticed Ethan no longer looked like someone who was constantly trying to manage everything. He was simply enjoying himself. That was the person they both wanted to see more often. Later that evening, Ryan and Logan talked about their feelings again. They both understood that their connection with Ethan was different from anything they expected. They did not want to rush him. They did not want him to feel like he had to choose immediately. More than anything, they wanted Ethan to know that he was valued. Ethan had spent so much time helping them feel understood. Now it was their turn to help him understand himself. Meanwhile, Ethan sat by the apartment window, thinking about how much had changed since the day he moved in. At first, he believed Ryan and Logan were the ones whose relationship needed to grow. He thought his role was simply to help from the side. But now he knew the truth. The three of them had changed each other. Ryan helped Ethan realize that he did not always have to be the strong one. Logan helped Ethan remember that happiness could come from simple moments. And together, they created a place that felt more like home than just an apartment. For the first time, Ethan stopped asking whether Ryan and Logan belonged together. The question that mattered now was different. Could he accept that he belonged with them too? The answer was closer than he expected. And soon, the three roommates would have to face the final step. Not just understanding their feelings, but being honest about them. Ethan Parker never imagined that the biggest change in his life would come from trying to change someone else's. When he first moved into the apartment with Ryan Mitchell and Logan Bennett, he believed his role was simple. He would help two very different people discover how well they matched. He would create moments, encourage conversations, and quietly watch their connection grow. But now, standing at the end of this unexpected journey, Ethan finally understood the truth. He was never just the person helping their story begin. He was part of the story all along. The apartment that once felt like a temporary place had become something much more meaningful. It was filled with memories of late-night conversations, shared meals, and countless small moments that none of them planned. Ethan looked around the familiar space and realized how much everyone had changed. Ryan, who once kept everyone at a distance, had learned to open up. Logan, who always used humor to hide his feelings, had learned that he did not need to pretend all the time. And Ethan, who always cared for others first, had finally learned that his own feelings mattered too. One evening, the three roommates sat together and talked about the first day they met. Ethan laughed as he remembered his original plan. "I really thought I was going to help you two become closer," he said. Ryan smiled. "You did help us become closer." Ethan looked surprised. Logan continued, "Just not in the way you expected." Ethan laughed because, after everything, he finally understood the irony of the situation. The person who wanted to create a connection between two people had created a connection that changed all three of their lives. Ryan looked at Ethan and said something simple but important. "You always wanted everyone else to feel understood. I hope you know that you deserve the same thing." Those words stayed with Ethan. For so long, he believed his happiness came from making others happy. He never realized that allowing others to care about him was also a kind of trust. Over time, the three of them continued building their lives together. They supported each other through busy schedules, celebrated small achievements, and created a home filled with warmth. Their relationship was not built on a perfect plan or a carefully arranged situation. It was built through patience, honesty, and the everyday moments that brought them closer. Ethan no longer tried to predict every emotion or control every outcome. He stopped searching for the perfect story because he had already found something better. A story that was real. A story where he was not the person watching from the outside. A story where he was finally allowed to be seen. Looking back, Ethan realized that his biggest mistake was believing he knew exactly how love worked. He thought he could recognize it in others while remaining untouched himself. But love was not something that always followed a plan. Sometimes it appeared in unexpected conversations, ordinary days, and the people who slowly became impossible to imagine life without. The person who once tried to bring two roommates together discovered something he never expected. The most meaningful connection was the one he never planned. And in the end, Ethan did not just help two people find happiness. He found a place where he belonged.